our launch, I would say, like within a month, we were over 100,000. And then within a few months, we were at 300,000. Within 6 months, we were at 500,000. And we're just looking forward to hitting the 7-figure mark. So I think we'll get there within the next 12 months. So I'm Jeannie Savage. I am known as the Strategic Bookkeeper. Definitely encourage you to Google me. I run a licensed membership program and I serve bookkeepers all over the world with that. I help primarily women, mums like me, to achieve true financial independence, typically 6 figures within 12 months, by helping them across brand marketing, selling, end-to-end business administration systems, a whole kit and caboodle. And I also still have a bookkeeping practice, which I've had for 15 years, which was the launch pad from which I became an accounting industry influencer. I'm multi-award winning and I'm currently Women in Finance Australia Innovator of the Year, recognising my work, my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact on our accounting industry. So I did the program, it was around when COVID hit, so it was coming up to 5 years. My practice then was a decade in, and I had a really nice bookkeeping practice. So my bookkeeping practice was giving me a nice little 6-figure income, like I call it food on the table, but I didn't really have to work in it much. So it took me about 5 or 6 years to get it to that point. And then I was riding that wave for another 4 years where I took a giant sabbatical. So I'm the mum of a special needs child and my marriage hadn't survived. So I got about 6 years in, was like, oh, I'm just going to use this beautiful income and time that I've built to prioritize my physical, mental, and spiritual health. And so I had this business that was giving me some nice profit, and I joined Key Person of Influence in order to really achieve my dream of becoming not just working in my industry as a bookkeeper and strategic bookkeeper and management accountant, but to serve others in my industry, to become a supplier to my industry. So life before KPI, I would say it was really comfortable and safe, and it was starting to bore me a bit. And I wanted to step into a place of taking a few more risks and playing a bigger game. And I like to say that we find our purpose or we die trying. And I wanted to go for it and see if I could really find my purpose in life. So that was life before KPI. So Glenn says at the beginning, look, every P is powerful, but you must combine them all to get the result. And I am someone, give me a system, tell me what to do, and I am just going to follow you. So I got started and I absolutely leaned in and did everything. So I turned up to every single implementer, and I've got to tell you, they were phenomenal. I got the academy content and I worked through that, and then I turbocharged it by turning up to every implementer for the first, I think, 3 to 6 months, and I think 6 months, and then we repeat. And then I really methodically did what Glenn said. So I learned, so the education part. So I did the work around pitch. I found origin story. I was like, I don't want to do that. The hard thing about origin story is if you have a decent amount of adversity in your life, or let's call it trauma, and you and I talked about my family history, and it's amazing, right? But none of that comes without fallout. And so and I listened to Tina Tower talk about the same thing, when you have a lot of adversity that you've left behind, you need to open the lid on that and dive back into your life story to understand why you're here and what's motivating you. And this is a journey that I've continued to this day. For me, origin story, brand story is the most important thing you ever dig into. So the challenge was really, it's emotional, it's hard, it is opening old wounds. It has to be done. Nothing connects you to your audience like that. To me, origin story is brand. That is my brand. My story is my brand. Yes, I showcase who I am in brand assets, but it set me on a path to become obsessed with this stuff. The hardest thing that I ever did in KPI is now the thing I'm the most obsessed with. And today, like if we look at where I've gone with that in my business, the minute we launched, we got an influencer offer from Intuit. Then when we opened the doors to the program, most people hope for 1, 2, maybe 3% of their list buying. And your pitch is what makes your list buy. we got 6% out of the gate. I was like, where do we go from that? I had to Google, what happens if you get 6% immediately? People spend 10 years aiming for 6%. And that is the power of pitch. But to be able to turn up authentically and share the parts of that origin story that I was ready to share, that connected me to my audience in a way that I got messages from people crying. That's the only way you're able to sell the thing that solves the problem, which is what this is all about. So I will let you know that when I practiced the publish in my bookkeeping practice, again, it was great. I could make a mess, I could stuff up, I could do all the things as I began my 10,000 hours like an athlete, the 10,000 hour concept. I published the book, I published the podcast. So I went for prestigious industry awards and I began to win them. So I started to get the profile in place, and the profile alone, and combined with a bit of origin story, I was able to start to court organizations and hear from organizations like Xero Software. And that was one of the first ones. I became one of the finalists for Xero Bookkeeper of the Year, right? So, and you get the media pack with the finalist positions. And they said, look, we'd love to come and send a crew to your house, spend the day filming you and interviewing you. And I managed to get them to switch the focus to the new business, because Xero Software, again, shepherd of my sheep, they have all my ideal clients, right? So I said, I thought, I want to direct this messaging. I'm going to work really hard. Actually, the producer ended up being a client. So all these things tend to snowball. Still to this day, that 90-second clip that you can Google Jeannie Savage Xero Software is such an amazing piece. And then I went on to be a speaker on a panel at the conference. A thing that was amazing was that in my book, it was natural for me to talk about the software companies that I loved. So I first reached out to one giant software company. And when I said to them, so I'm going to feature you in my book, because I love your software. And with that software company, because they asked me to sign a partnership agreement, in my book, I just went further than what I was going to write. So I just simply talked more about the company and how they were one of our secrets to success. So what I was doing was creating third-party advocacy for them, right? So I was showing up, positioning myself as an influencer, advocating for these brands. So they were like, you are the golden ticket in terms of marketing for us. You are our clients advocating for us. So that went so well. I wrote the book. But then once I wrote the book, I reached out to another software house and I said, I've published a book. It's coming out soon. And I featured you. And they said, right, that's timing because it's Bookkeeper Week. So you'll need to jump on webinars and present. And I said, but the book's not even out. That's fine. We can do it. It's coming soon. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, this is really taking off, this stuff. Right? And that today has turned into, I was just online yesterday doing video content for the software houses. So now I'm moving to being paid a monthly fee as an influencer to provide a range of things like a video a month. They get included in our summit. They're in our little black book, and we do a range of activities. But this is my ideal shepherds with my ideal sheep, as I like to call it, that put me in front of their audience. And as I was saying, they go as far as spending money to advertise me in magazines because I'm their third-party advocacy. I've just onboarded a full-time partnerships and PR manager in South Africa so that I can stop doing it all. And she's getting, we've got the most amazing, massive companies reaching out to us and saying, we want a signed partnership agreement with you. So it's snowballing. It's going incredibly well. So I built through blood, sweat and tears a professional services business with, maybe I think I was turning over about 400,000 a year, and I'd squeezed lots of juice out of that orange. So I was taking home maybe a third of that fully under management, not having to work almost, right? And I was in a position in my life where that was really easy peasy. So my income, maybe 140,000 a year or something like that. And that was enough for me. It was sweet. But all the parts of that kind of business, I think at the time we had We had a lot of part-time staff. It was a bit messy. I finally leveled up to being an A leader and an A manager. We reduced that team down to only really a few of us to sustain the revenue and profit, which was great. Then when I invested the profit, a lot of the profit from that business into my purpose, my dharma, through using the 5 Ps into the Strategic Bookkeeper. And I built my beautiful Ferrari ready to hit the road, unlike the normal entrepreneur journey of just going to market and figuring it out and making a mess. Our launch, I would say, like within a month, we were over 100,000. And then within a few months, we were at 200,000-300,000. Within 6 months, we were at 500,000. And we're just looking forward to hitting the 7-figure mark. So I think we'll get there within the next 12 months. This kind of model where we're selling an infinitely scalable intellectual property, you can pull a good 66% out as profit. So the reward is much greater. So that's kind of where we're at now in terms of numbers. So in terms of lifestyle and freedom, I mean, the money gives us security, right? The money gives us the knowledge that we can take care of ourselves and those around us. And when I launched and I could see everything was going really well, I sold the family home, which was overdue. And I got what I live in now as my dream home. And I gave a builder a blank check and renovated it. And it feels like a palace. I live in this waterfront palace, which I'm so blessed and grateful for. But the biggest thing it's given me is the ability to live into my life's purpose, to support these women all around the world. Because if somebody had have told me that one day I'd do work so impactful that my clients would cry, that's what makes it very hard to tear myself away from it. And I honestly feel like I've made my mark. I've made a dent in the universe. Knowing that there are people all around the world benefiting from what I have done, there's nothing that compares to that.